Hi everyone, it's Sabrina Mastrangelo from the Ryerson Home Economics Association. If you missed our sewing event, don't worry because we have a tutorial for you. So keep watching to learn how to make this awesome sewing flower craft. So in your package that you received from us, you should have 5 fabric circles, a spool of thread, a needle, and a button. And we'll use these things to make our flower. So the first thing we're gonna do is cut our thread. So you're gonna take your spool of thread and measure about an arm's length of thread. You're gonna take your scissors and cut that. Then we want to thread our needle. So you're gonna take your needle and take the end of your thread and thread it through the tiny hole on the top. And once you've done that, you're gonna pull it through and leave a little bit of thread hanging over the other side so that it stays in the needle. And then you're gonna go to the long end and you're gonna tie a knot in the end so that when you pull it through the fabric, it's not gonna fall through. You may need to do this 2 or 3 times to get a big enough knot. So once you have a knot at the end of your string, you're gonna take your circle and you're gonna fold it in half to have a semicircle, and then you're gonna fold it in half again, where you're gonna get this rounded triangle shape. And then you're gonna take your needle and along this rounded edge, you're going to do a running stitch. And what that looks like is you're gonna poke it through one side, getting through all the layers of fabric, pulling it through the other side until you hit that knot, and then you're going to poke it through the fabric again, going from front and coming out the back. And your first stitch should look like that. And then now that your thread is on the back of your petal, you're going to poke again through to the front. And then you have a similar stitch in the back. And you're gonna keep doing that until you get to the end of your petal. So once you get to the end of your piece of fabric, you're gonna cinch by pulling the end of your string and the end of the fabric until you get a petal like this. And then you're gonna grab your next circle, fold it the same way we did the first one, and you're gonna continue your stitch along the bottom of the next petal that's still connected to this one. You're gonna go from the back to the front, and from the front through to the back. And you want each stitch almost touching, but not quite touching. Show you an example. So your stitches should look something like that, all across the bottom. So once you're down to the second petal, you're gonna continue with the rest of your circles. So once you have all 5 petals on your thread, you're gonna connect your last petal to your first petal. So you're gonna take your needle and thread, put a stitch through your first petal and pull it through, and that should bring them together. And then you're just gonna do a few of the running stitches back and forth to secure them. So once you've connected all your petals, they should look like this. And then we're gonna try and close up this gap in the middle before we sew our button on. So we're gonna make sure, we're gonna choose the back of our, which side is gonna be the back of our flower, and make sure the thread is poking out that side. And then we're gonna take the thread and needle and poke it through a petal that's on the opposite side of where our string is currently coming from. Poke it through the front, pull it through, and then you should have a piece of thread going right through that center area. And you're going to continue doing that until you have at least one stitch in each petal. So I might go to the petal next to it, poke my thread through to the other side or back to the back, and pull it through, making sure I'm not getting it looped on any of my petals. And you see them starting to come together. I can go across to the other side, poke it through. You can see strings starting to come together in the center there to pull it together. And you just continue doing that until the hole gets a little bit smaller. It doesn't have to be touching because the button is going to go in front of it and cover that. So continue with that, and then we'll show you how to sew on the button. Once your flower is starting to come together, do one more stitch so that the needle ends up on the front of your flower. And then you're going to take your button, thread it through the back of the button, and pull it until it meets your flower. Like this. And then you want to poke your needle through the opposite buttonhole. And when it goes back through the button, poke it through some fabric so that you can connect your button. And it'll look something like this. And then you're just going to continue stitching on your button, making sure when you go through the back, you're catching some fabric so that it stays on. So once your button is secure, I like to do 2 stitches through each set of buttons, and my thread is poking out the back. I'm going to make a knot to keep the flower together. So what you can do to do that is you poke through the fabric, and it pokes right through the pokes right through the front to the back again, and it creates a loop. And what you're going to do is you're going to, I lost my needle. 1 second while okay, I fixed my needle. So let's try that again. So you're going to take your needle, poke it through the fabric so it goes to the front and then right away to the back. That's going to create a loop. Oops. So that's going to create a loop that I can pull my needle through and pull that all the way to create a knot. And then I can snip off the excess thread. And that's our flower. So in order to make our flower into an ornament, we have our bits of twine that were included in your package. And I like to take a little bit of Scotch tape and just tape the end of it just so our string doesn't fray. Kind of make a pointy edge. And you can feed it through that hole in our flower, right through the middle. And then we just tie a knot in the string. Hiding that knotted bit at the back. And we have a little ornament. So that's it. So if you were successful in making your flower, which I'm sure you are, please send us a picture and send it to us on social media. We'd love to see and share everyone's great work. Thank you so much for joining us. Bye.